Hello students, welcome to Laex. Welcome to the weekly session from 2nd April to 8th April 2017. If we actually look at the last two magazines, most of the content in those magazines were related to mains and the contents were not so important for your exam. But when we look at this particular magazine, we can realize that there are a lot of issues in this week which are particularly important from both prelims and mains point of view. So, along with the issues which are there in the Hindu, we have also taken the issues from the PIB. From now on, we will be adding those information from the Hindu and the PIB as well. And as I have already told you, the booklet or the soft copy will be available to you at laex.in/testprep. Over a period of time, the hard copy will not be available for you guys. Only the soft copy will be available. And along with this, the other materials that are required for the video lectures will also be made available at this website. Right? So, let's quickly begin with what are the important events that had actually happened during this time frame, and we will be focusing from exam point of view why these are important. As I keep repeating, April, May, June is the time when majority of the questions both in prelims and mains will appear. So we have to be cautious about every issue that happens at this point of time. So let's quickly see what are some of the major issues that we have to see in this particular week. The essay for the week is with respect to intolerance, especially after Pranab Mukherjee said that let's not be described as intolerant. So, we see there can be any question with respect to intolerance, but majorly the focus will be in the essay. So, there can be an essay with respect to confrontation and intolerance is replacing debate and discussion in our higher educational institutions. Or there can be a question about this even at the social media level. If you're talking about the fake news and also some news which is trying to divide the country between so-called nationalists and anti-nationalists and tolerant India and intolerant India, this needs to be taken care of. You should be very careful when you come across these. Try to collect some factual information regarding this. Whenever there is a debate of this sort, usually these points will be asked in essay, right? So, as from last 1 or 2 years you're listening to this word intolerance again and again, please try to ensure that some factual information is accumulated, which will be important from essay point of view, right? So let's immediately move to the first paper, that is GS1. This year, there is a lot of focus on increasing temperature everywhere, and even the meteorological department has actually talked about heat waves. Every year, there will be one or the other form of disaster, and in that particular year, UPSC will be focusing mostly on that. Last year, if we actually look at the newspaper analysis and if we see what was the major impact, that was water crisis. It actually happened exactly at this point of time. And if you take mains papers and if you observe, two questions in geography came mainly from the water crisis itself. So whenever there is any new thing associated or any disaster in a particular year, high possibility that you get a question from that particular topic. When we look this year, we are actually focusing on heat waves. Unfortunately, none of your NCERT books in geography talk about heat waves. So high possibility that there can be a question about heat waves itself, both in prelims as well as mains. So what can they ask you about heat waves? The first thing is, what exactly do you mean by heat waves? There is no proper definition for heat waves because based on the region, based on whether it is a plain, plateau, coastal area, or based on the average temperature of a particular place at a particular time, we usually observe that the definition of heat waves varies. When such complexity is there in heat waves definition, 99% possibility that a question on heat waves can be about the definition itself. So let's see what exactly is the meteorological department's definition for heat wave. IMD criteria for heat wave and severe heat wave. Heat wave is considered only after maximum temperature of a station reaches at least 40 degrees Celsius for plains and at least 30 degrees Celsius for hilly regions. So this statement can be given to you in prelims. Consider the following statements with respect to heat waves. Right? At that point of time, please be very careful. They may tell you in the statement that if it reaches 40 degrees Celsius anywhere, we call it to be a heat wave. So there you should have clarity that it is 40 degrees Celsius for plains and at least 30 degrees Celsius for hilly regions. Earlier we used to say that you need not worry about these factual information and numbers when it comes to prelims. But nowadays UPSC is doing mistakes even in these numbers. This is the reason why we are stretching on these points as much as possible. Right? Then when normal maximum temperature of a station is less or equal to 40 degrees Celsius. For example, let's take a desert area where normally the temperature is 40 degrees Celsius. Right? So we told in plains, if it is 40 degrees Celsius, we call it a heat wave. But what if a region actually has 40 degrees Celsius as its normal temperature? At that point of time, the departure from normal 5 degree to 6 degrees Celsius will be called as heat wave. Whereas a departure more than 7 degrees Celsius will be called as severe heat wave. So here I hope you're getting the difference. Please be careful. When normal maximum temperature of a station is greater than 40 degrees Celsius, the heat wave will be 4 to 5 degrees Celsius departure from the normal temperature. Severe heat wave will be 6 degree or more. Every statement they may ask you in the exam, please be careful. Because whenever for any definition or for any point, if you see more than one particular point, that is, if there is a possibility of framing a question in the form of 1, 2, 3, high possibility that such a topic comes in the exam. Most of us will be interested to read only one, but we forget to read about the other points carefully. So here there is an attempt made to ensure that you will be going through each one of these topics and lines carefully to ensure that you will not be doing this mistake. Whenever I stress on any topic, please ensure that you make a note of that and revise it 1 or 2 days before exam. I'm not stressing equally on every topic because every year there will be some issues which are important, and from last 4 or 5 years we have observed that there are 90% possibilities that questions come only from these 30 to 40 important topics from different areas. So in those 30 to 40, heat waves is one that we have to look at this particular year, right? So please be careful about this definition. When actual maximum temperature is 45 degrees Celsius or more, irrespective of normal maximum temperature, heat wave should be declared, right? So if it is 45 degree or more, you should call it to be a heat wave. Right? So let us see why heat waves are increasing in India. When we actually consider the local winds, we have hot winds and cool winds or cold winds at different parts of the world. In North India, Loo is one of the most common one. But if you see South and other places, you do not identify any particular wind which is called as a heat wave. But when you go to countries like Africa and when you go to United States, you have Chinook, you have Sirocco. These are actually hot winds which are present in these regions, right? But in India, it is Lu, which is very, very important. But apart from that, in other regions, you don't find it. But still, the meteorological department is willing to look at this carefully because of some geographical changes that are actually happening in India. So let us see what are actually leading to this. The first reason is global warming has caused disruption in monsoons. When you get heavy rainfall or good rainfall in any particular area, then the heat wave impact will be reduced. Unfortunately, with the delayed monsoons, this impact is seen. What is the other reason for delayed monsoon? It is El Nino effect. Even this leads to increasing temperature, or indirectly I can tell you delay in the monsoons. Then increasing effect of Lu in North India due to expanding desertification and land degradation in the northwest. Then rapid and unplanned urbanization creating heat islands. What exactly do you mean by this? You know that there is a topic by name urban heat islands. How does urban area become heat island? One is because of the pollution. That is, you have lot of pollutants which are released, and this acts as greenhouse gases, and which in turn increases temperature, right? And the other important thing is, when you have buildings, flyovers, roads, all these have high property of absorbing sun's rays. When they absorb and emit more heat, when they absorb, they become much hotter, and whenever they radiate back also, the greenhouse gases will be keeping this again. So this again leads to increasing temperature. The spaces between buildings are reducing. This does not allow the air to move easily across. So this also makes the air to be present in particular pockets, and this leads to urban heat island. So this is also one important reason for heat waves increasing in India. So guys, even this can be prelims question or it can be mains questions as well. So please be careful about this. Then let us see what are the different effects of heat waves. First effect will be on crops. The reason is the moisture content, which is, if it is not available in the air, then usually they lead to evapotranspiration, which actually occurs in the plants, and this also leads to lot of water crisis, especially for crops grown in the Kharif period. So this is one important problem of heat waves. And the other two important effects are heat strokes, which also lead to death of few people, and power cuts, which usually happen in these regions. Right? Whenever you have an issue, at last, from disaster management point of view, the question will be, what measures should be taken to ensure that the impact of heat wave is reduced on the people? The first thing is timely warnings by IMD about possible increase in temperature and alert the people in advance, right? Then allowing sufficient provision of piped water supply for drinking water to households, as well as places like schools, working places, and even public taps for the convenience of the general public. So water will be one of the major problem during this period, because the heat waves, because of their intense heat, they are capable of evaporating most of the moisture content available. Preparing a national, state as well as district level action plan in coordination with the public health authorities. As I told you, here they are talking about the measures, preventive measures, and also during that what needs to be done. Providing quick treatment to the affected and spreading awareness about keeping ice packs in store for quick relief. Allowing for an adjustment in the timings of schools and workplaces. This is very important. Kerala is also known for this type of heat strokes. So during summer, from 12 to 2, in most of the regions, whoever is working outside, they usually say that you should not work in this place. So many people say it's a government law that you should not work from 12 to 2, where the temperature will be more and which can also lead to heat strokes. So people should not work out open. So these are some of the measures that needs to be taken to ensure that the impact of heat waves are reduced. The other things, designing houses to cut heat through albedo effect. That is, rather than having houses with concretes which can actually absorb more heat, try to go for this albedo effect where the buildings reflect it back. Whitening roofs, all these actually leads to less effect. And the second important thing which we have to see from European and US and other countries is about the blue and green urban spaces. What is the meaning of it? Blue is actually associated with water, green is associated with plant cover. That is, in the urban spaces, try to increase the water cover or try to go for more plants. When you have water and plants both combined in a particular area, this actually will lead to reduced impact of heat waves. So this is what they actually want to say. That is, to recreate a naturally oriented water cycle while contributing to the amenity of the city by bringing water management and green infrastructure together. I'll just show you the pictures. Here you can see in the normal period, right, the soil content, there will be low river. But when you see here, condensation will be more because of this evapotranspiration and also evaporation of the rivers. Usually there will be some sort of saturation which leads to high flow of water. And on the other hand, when you see this actually leads to increased absorption, whereas this leads to reduced absorption. So this is what we call, if you have to go for reducing heat waves, this blue-green cities is also one of the developmental activities that can be taken up by the states. You can see virtual forests in China, and even in the Facebook there was something about vertical plants being constructed in Bangalore as well. So please be careful about such examples, and if you can quote them after thorough verification of these, it will be very beneficial for you to address these type of problems in your answers. Whenever you can quote examples and say that this is one solution, then it is helpful for you. The other important topic is with respect to the day cruise and other infrastructure projects that are actually planned at Chilka Lagoon. Whenever such type of lakes are in news, usually UPSC asks you question about the geography of that particular lake. So if we look at the geography of this, the first major information that is required for you is it is actually present in Odisha. The second one is, do you know which river is actually there? It is Daya River. Daya River's mouth is usually present near the Chilka Lake. And then the third most important one is, earlier it was National Highway 5 which used to pass through this. Now it is National Highway 16 with the new numbering. It is National Highway 16, also called as East Coast Highway, right? So these two are most important information. There are informations with respect to islands as well. We are not very much interested because there are almost around 25 islands and we cannot remember all those. Right, guys? So these points are important with respect to Chilka Lake. We will also see some other information. Even these facts can be asked. So what is the first one? It is the largest coastal lagoon in India and second largest in the world, after the New Caledonian Barrier Reef in the New Caledonia. Definitely there can be a question about this. If they are asking about Chilka Lake, these points, these facts can also be given. It is the largest winter ground for migratory waterfowl found anywhere on the Indian subcontinent. It is one of the hotspots of biodiversity, and because of this rich biodiversity, it was given the first Ramsar site of India. Then we also have to look at the Nalaban Island within this lagoon, which is notified as the bird sanctuary under Wildlife Protection Act. I told you migratory birds come majorly in this region, and the other most important fact is with respect to the highway, right? So all these can be asked with respect to Chilka Lake. So please be prepared about this. And the expected question is, urban areas are more vulnerable to heat waves and associated disasters. Analyze the reasons and add a note on suggestions to tackle this situation. Or they may ask you, you are a district collector in a particular district where heat waves are severe. What do you think are the reasons for this, and what mitigation measures would you take to ensure that the situation is handled? So please be careful about any question that can come on heat waves. It can come in geography, where the focus will be on reasons for heat wave. If it comes in disaster management, the focus will be on the mitigation or preventive measures. The other important issue is actually with respect to the crowdfunding to political parties. So what exactly does it mean? They are actually talking about the electoral bond scheme. This year, along with heat waves, the other major issue that you need to focus is with respect to electoral funding. When it comes to electoral fundings, we are actually talking about different means and methods which are actually implemented in ensuring that there is transparency in funding to the political parties. So one which was introduced in the budget was with respect to the electoral bond scheme. So what exactly does that mean? It says that the electoral bonds will be issued by a notified bank for a specified denominations, and those who want to donate to a political party can buy these bonds by making payments digitally or through check, so that the bank will be knowing who is actually purchasing it. And this information will not be revealed to the political party for which the funding is actually being done. So it is said that there will be some transparency at this level, that who will be purchasing and how money is actually flowing, from which accounts it is flowing. And on the other side, there will be some sort of secrecy that will be maintained about who exactly is funding to which political party. Here, some opposition people have believed that most of the money will actually flow into the ruling political party rather than for the opposition political parties if the name is being not disclosed. So all these are some of the criticisms of this, but we need to understand first from UPSC point of view, rather than getting involved into the politics and seeing what is the debate happening on that particular issue. So what is important for us is to understand what exactly these are and which are the banks which are authorized to actually give this. So if we see, the bonds will likely be bearer bonds and the identity of the donor will not be known. The party can convert these bonds back into money via their bank account. So because of this, you will be knowing how much money is received by the political parties. So there will be transparency in amount that is actually received by the political parties, so that you can actually know how much money they are actually spending as well. Electoral bonds are essentially like bearer checks. The issuing bank will remain the custodian of the donor's funds until the political party redeems the bond. Why this particular issue of electoral bonds is important? Because most of the political parties, they actually took lot of funds in cash from the anonymous sources. Earlier, it was also there that only about 20,000. If there is any donations to your political party, then only you have to disclose it to the IT department. But now this is fixed by limiting it to 2,000 rupees. But these were some of the things like cash in smaller amounts were also being taken, and it was showed that 95% of the people who have funded a political party got money only less than 20,000 or 2,000 from cash. So they tried to show that all the money which came to them was only through these people. So black money or corruption money which was accumulated by the political party over a period of time was actually shown as money donated by these people. Now with this particular practice, it will actually ensure that any money which is entering into the political party will be actually controlled or can be seen by the election commission carefully, and how the funds is being utilized can also be seen. So we have to be careful while looking at it. Obviously there will be some loopholes out of this, but still what is more important for us is from exam point of view. I'm not talking politically what is the impact that is going to be, but I'm talking from the exam point of view. The focus will be on electoral bonds and why is it important, and once if it is strictly implemented, then we will come across other issues which are there. Now whatever problems that are being talked by the people is only with respect to the identity of the donor is captured by the banks, even though it is not revealed, but the voter will not be knowing who has funded to which political party. And on the other hand, the income tax breaks will not be available for the donations of this. So due to this, what happens? So the donor has to decide whether the money has to go to the political party for some good purpose or should it be for the tax benefits. So these are some of the normal debates that are actually happening about electoral bonds. But I would say please look at this particular point carefully, right? Especially within this, you have to look at the point which is talking about the negligent regime on donations and 20,000 and above. Now to fix this, the budget has proposed. So these 3 points are must and should for your answer, right? And the next important topic is with respect to IAS tops national rankings and IIT Madras comes second. We have developed a ranking system for our institutions. So let us see what are some of the measures or what are some of the components that have been considered while actually giving these rankings. So the first thing is with respect to who is actually involved in this, the National Institutional Ranking Framework, which actually considers across 20 parameters, and it is under Ministry of HRD. This will be asked, so please be careful. And some of the parameters are teaching and learning resources that are actually available, research professional practice and collaborative performance, graduation outcomes, outreach and inclusivity, perception. So these are some of the parameters which are actually included. So they won't ask you much about this. If at all they ask you which is the first institution or second institution, and then they may ask you with respect to some of these parameters which they have mentioned, right? So as there are more than 20 parameters, least possibility that you may get a question on this, but you can actually use this data when you are talking about the higher education, and you can see how many institutions are coming under this, whether there are some institutions which are capable of going for innovation, research, what is the level of IPRs. When something of this sort comes, it will be easy for us to talk based on these reports, right? As of now, if you look at these two facts, it is more than enough. The second important issue is with respect to the backward commission set to get constitutional status. So the Lok Sabha has cleared 102 second amendment bill. So here the commission will be renamed as National Commission for Socially and Educationally Backward Classes. And the bill says that any addition to the central list of communities under the backward classes will have to be cleared through the parliament. Whenever it is through the executive, then every government usually tries to say that we will, if we come to power, we will do this, we will do that. And that is creating lot of problem where you can see majority of the communities nowadays want to enter into this. Then this also wants to insert a new Article 342A that empowers the president to specify the communities which would fall under socially and educationally backward classes. You can actually observe that president is the one who actually gives nod to the ST status as well. Right? Now they want to make even the backward classes to come under this. The new commission will hear the grievances of socially and educationally backward classes, a function which has been discharged so far by National Commission for Scheduled Castes. So now you will actually get a new body which will be focusing only on the backward classes itself. Right? So this is very, very important for you from both prelims and mains point of view. So especially remember this particular one. But the question will be asked only if Rajya Sabha also passes it. So please be careful about this issue. The second major issue with respect to polity is about Article 142, which has to be used in restraint. Supreme Court is actually involving into the executive actions. Last year or during Manmohan Singh period, if you observe, they told that they gave a particular set of guidelines to ensure that how food has to be distributed without wastage. Then Manmohan Singh wrote a letter to the Supreme Court saying that this is not fair. You cannot involve into the executive actions. We know how it should be distributed. Now you can see that the Supreme Court has actually barred use of liquors on the highways. Right? So when this has been given by the Supreme Court, many people are saying that why is Supreme Court actually getting involved into these things? There are few arguments with respect to Article 142 which says it is actually good. There are few things which are actually not good with respect to 142. That is, whenever there is misuse of anything, it will be called to be bad. Judicial overreach, that is judiciary is actually trying to involve in most of the executive areas, sometimes will have impact on the society. But let us see some of the positives and negatives with respect to Article 142. The first major important thing is people like Markandeya Katju says that executive and the political parties which are in power, due to some electoral pressures and also due to some multicultural problems which they face from different political parties in different areas, they try to see that it is not possible for you to pass particular bills or to take certain actions against certain issues. It may be with respect to the urban local bodies issue which we focused recently in Nagaland. So when anything of this sort happens, sometimes the political parties, because of the pressure from a particular region, they will not be interested in furthering that particular issue. But at this point of time, the Supreme Court or the judiciary, which is not biased on the basis of these type of things, where they are not going to appease any particular community or a particular religion, this gives Supreme Court or judiciary an opportunity to do the things which the executive cannot do, is the major argument about the 142 article. Whereas on the other hand, whoever opposes this Supreme Court's intervention, they say that this is gross misuse of this. So because of the liquor issue, Article 142 is essential for us. I have given you what exactly Article 142 means, right? And I'll also give you some examples where this was used. Vishaka case, especially about the sexual harassment, and then the case was with respect to the bonded labor. Olga Tillis case, where it was about right to livelihood as part and parcel of the right to life, right to education, and highway liquor ban. These are some of the things which judiciary has used Article 142 to implement strictly. So, apart from knowing about the highway liquor ban, we have to remember some of the major national highways, and also we have to look at Article 142. One of the loophole of this is that state governments are trying to change the name of these national highways either to state highways, or they are trying to call it to be urban routes to avoid this particular liquor ban. So this can be one of the criticism of the highway liquor ban, right? So let's move quickly to the other topic. The next major issue is with respect to government talk about reducing pendency of court cases. It is a regular problem which you can keep listening to the judiciary blaming the executive, executive blaming the judiciary. But this time, we usually observe that the Prime Minister and the judiciary have come together and they have told that if we say lack of judge population ratio is one of the major reason, or if we also talk about the pending cases is more mainly because of number of judges or shortage of judges in the judicial system, then the judiciary has told that it's not completely true. There are other problems that are actually involved as well. So this can be a mains question where they may ask you what are the reasons which leads to increasing pendency. You cannot write only about this. Apart from this, the other things which are also responsible are: first, lack of IT prowess. That is, you do not have adequate administrative staff. Human resources issues are also there about the quality of lawyers. It is not proper throughout the country. Increasing awareness in the public actually leads to increasing workload as there will be increase in cases as well. There is no technical expertise. There are issues or cases that are coming to the courts which are technical in nature, and lack of this technical expertise is also leading to increasing or delaying the cases. Then we also have to look at the proliferation through special leave petitions. Even this is actually increasing the number of pendency cases. So how exactly should we deal with this? For this, there is a 10-point agenda that is actually given. What are these? 1. Calculating the adequate judge strength ratio that is required through a scientific analysis, which will actually increase in increasing the rate of disposal method. The second important thing is judges to be appointed on a priority basis. As I told you, yes, this is an issue and we need to address it. But apart from that, what are the other measures that can be taken is with respect to increasing the age of retirement for subordinate court judges to 62 years, and creation of special courts for traffic wherever more cases are coming. It may be with respect to income tax department, checks, challans, traffic. All this we need to ensure that there are specialized courts which will be involved in speedy disposal of this. Provision for staff and infrastructure needs to be improved and increased. Periodic needs for assessment of high courts monitoring is required. Wherever there is any loophole, immediately it needs to be filled. Then we need to look at uniform data collection and data management methods to bring in greater transparency. One of the major problem for this pendency of cases being increased is now the lower court will send the information to the higher court, or the case will be transferred to the higher court. Again, the higher court has to look at most of the things again. There is no proper integration of the data, so which may actually help the higher courts to easily look at the information. And also, if there is any information with respect to any particular cases, if there is clear transparency across departments as well, it will be easy for the court to get access to this and try to clear the cases quickly. Need a system-wide reform where you have to focus on lok adalats and setting up non-mandatory time frames and performance benchmarks for resolution of different types of cases based on rational criteria. That is, with more disposal of cases, there should be some incentives that should be given, but it should be also taken care that justice is not denied to the people because of this. So that is the reason they have told it should be on a rational criteria. Then use of technology can also help us in reducing the pendency of cases as much as possible. It will be easy for us to track old cases, and it will be also easy to set up e-courts. People need not come and actually look at the things. Some things like challans and all, if it is possible, traffic issues, if it is possible to be done away with at the e-courts level itself, then most of these cases and the timings will be left out, and even the corruption will be reduced, because when you go to the court, then you have lot of procedures, then which for the benefit of these lawyers or police, they try to go to the courts again and again. Now, if you can avoid it, it would be very easy for you. And then the last important one is with respect to creation of all India judicial services. Right? Once if this comes up, wherever the pendency is there, immediately those seats can be filled up and there will be regular intake of judges. The next major issue from international relations is with respect to the Teesta River, right? As we are aware, Teesta River is in news. Bangladesh Prime Minister had come to India. High possibility that they may ask you question with respect to Teesta River. That is mostly with respect to the geographical aspects of the Teesta River. Here we have talked in introduction with respect to the diplomatic relations, which actually increased post 1971 when Bangladesh became independent from Pakistan. Before that it was Pakistan. So we did not had good relationship. Everything with respect to East Pakistan at that time was seen with the lens from West Pakistan point of view. So let us see what are some of the problems or benefits of this Teesta water. Before that, we need to look at the geography of the Teesta River. That is, first point is, where does it originate? Kangse Glacier, Charamu Lake in Sikkim. Most of its catchment area lies in India. This is most important factual information. Then it enters Bangladesh, where it joins Brahmaputra, and after Brahmaputra, Ganges and Meghna, it actually merges. Like, if we look at the major rivers in Bangladesh, Brahmaputra, Ganga, Meghna and Teesta. So Teesta river water is very, very important as it is the fourth largest river. If you are aware, there are almost around 54 rivers which actually pass between India and Bangladesh. The numbers vary from 51 to 54. Recently, there was news about the Feni river as well, which actually passes between Bangladesh and India, especially the Tripura river. And the Feni river is also known for shifting its courses, right? So we need to see or read with respect to Teesta water. Then what is more important for us, or if we have to understand the issue, if we take Bangladesh, water, once it enters into the Bangladesh, actually Bangladesh wanted to construct a dam there and actually utilize it for its own people. Unfortunately, before they went for that, India started constructing lot of dams on the Teesta river and we have diverted the water. As of now, it is only 25% of the Teesta water which is entering into Bangladesh. If this agreement comes into picture, then it will be 50:50. If we see, Sikkim, West Bengal and Bangladesh are the three, Sikkim and West Bengal in India and Bangladesh are the places through which the Teesta river flows. Sikkim is not very much dependent, and as it is a mountainous region, the amount of water that is required for Sikkim is available. There is no problem from Sikkim's point of view. But the major problem is from West Bengal, which is actually utilizing majority of the Teesta water today. And if this agreement comes into picture, West Bengal will have to give some of its water shares to Bangladesh. And this is the reason why West Bengal is not willing to go for this Teesta water issue. Then what is the benefit if this agreement happens? Sheikh Hasina is known to be closer to India in her country, whereas Khalida Zia, the opposition leader, always opposes any agreements with India. If this agreement happens, then Sheikh Hasina's power increases in Bangladesh, where she can say that if I'm elected back to power, I can get these type of deals which will be in favor of Bangladesh. So this will ensure her victory there. She will be powerful, and if Sheikh Hasina is present in Bangladesh as the Prime Minister, we have also seen that insurgency in Northeast will be reduced, the arms supplies to ULFA, NSCN and all will be reduced, and this also leads to increasing insurgency groups coming for peace talks, because Bangladesh will not be a safe haven for these groupings. So in India's interest, it is very important to ensure that we have a good neighborhood. That is, Bangladesh should be under the control of Sheikh Hasina, or in the other way, if I have to say, if Sheikh Hasina is in power, as she is good to India, she will ensure that her territory is not used against India. So this is what the defense analysts actually say. So Teesta Water Agreement has its own merits and demerits. It is a bilateral issue. In international relations, whenever we look at geopolitics, the political aspect is about West Bengal government winning elections and Sheikh Hasina winning elections. UPSC will not focus on this political aspects, but they will focus mainly about the geographical aspects, which are important and which we have seen. Then the other major topic is with respect to AIDS free by 2030, India included. Here we are actually talking about National AIDS Control Program 4th phase, where 2/3 of the money is actually funded through domestic sources. It is also planned to eradicate AIDS completely from India by 2030. Fight against AIDS and HIV is integrated into the health-related system. NACP 3 has got merged into NRHM in 2010. So NRHM, National Rural Health Mission, clearly about this is being explained in the India yearbook, but here we need to remember about the National AIDS Control Program 4th phase, where it is looking for increasing the funds and also looking to eliminate AIDS in India by 2030, right? So because of this particular interest or deadline that India has kept for itself, it is important you can use this whenever you are talking about health related indicators, how India is actually performing. The question is also with respect to India and Bangladesh relationship should be guided through neighbor first policy. In this context, analyze the importance of India-Bangladesh relationship, right? So please try to answer from IR point of view. So the next important topic is from economy, where we are talking about NPAs. Even in the economic survey, I have clearly mentioned that NPAs is very, very important and any question can come about NPAs. In this news, it is actually said that Finance Minister is saying more money giving to banks will not solve this NPAs issue. Right? That is, earlier government used to give a part of its budget money, tax collected money, to ensure that the banks are coming out of this bad debts. But now the government is saying that if we give more money, it is not solving the purpose. So some of the causes which leads to these bad loans is one about the economic slowdown, which actually led after 2008. If we see from 2001 to 2008, things were very good. Most of the money went into the infrastructure projects. But suddenly, there was economic slowdown across the world. This led to decrease in demand. And once the demand decreased, most of the investments also reduced. So most of the projects, they were stalled because we thought that if I invest in a particular sector, there I will produce these many goods as there is so much of demand in the market. But when the demand fell, my project stopped in between. My project did not become viable. This increased a bad loan, right? This is one reason. Second, the PSB mismanagement, where many committees have actually told that some banks did not give only one loan, but they were also giving second and third loan for a same project to ensure that the viability increases. And sometimes this was associated with corruption as well. So this is one of the major problem which also led to increasing NPAs. And the third is the stalled projects because of some government issues. It may be with respect to land clearances or environmental clearances. All these actually led to these problems, and the solutions for this is clearly given in economic survey. I have clearly shown in the twin balance sheet problem the measures that the government has taken, and we have explained it. So please try to go back to the economic survey book and try to read those topics carefully. We have again just reproduced what we have seen in the economic survey here. So my request to you is about the NPAs, as there will be a question for sure, just ensure that you are reading about it carefully. The next major issue which was there in the news is with respect to the general anti-avoidance rule. Every economy student would have read this with respect to the Direct Tax Code of 2009. Here, you have to understand that there is some difference between tax evasion, tax avoidance. Evasion is you are not showing to the government that I earned this money at all. Right? Here I earned 1 crore rupees, and out of this I am showing to government that I earned only 80 lakhs, and I am actually not showing to the government 20 lakhs at all. So this is actually tax evasion. But by using some of the loopholes that are present, what these companies do, they usually avoid taxes. For example, if there is two companies, let's take Vodafone and Vodafone India, right? So Vodafone is a bigger company in the world where its parent organization is actually present in UK. Now you have Vodafone India, which is a subsidiary of this. Now what happens? The Vodafone will give some money to Vodafone India. Right? When actually Vodafone gives some money to Vodafone India, it will be shown as debt. And the interest that will be charged on this debt will be much more. Even though the Vodafone India don't need money, they will give from their profits which the Vodafone India has earned itself. Some part of it will be given to Vodafone India as debt. And the interest rates will be more, just to ensure that the money whichever goes into the interest or the expenditure will be actually shown to the government to avoid the taxes. So these type of practices are usually more to avoid the taxes. These are not illegal. You have to be careful with respect to this. Here, we are not talking about tax evasion. When I say tax evasion, it becomes illegal. Tax avoidance is I am actually using the loophole which is there in the system to ensure that I avoid paying more taxes. That is tax avoidance. And general anti-avoidance rules actually aims at identifying these type of rules and ensure that it is not being done again. So this is what we are actually looking at GAR, and there can be a question in mains about the GAR. But if at all there is a question in prelims, it is actually with respect to these points. GAR was originally proposed in DTC of 2009. It is a set of rules that helps tax authorities decide whether a commercial entity has entered into an arrangement with another entity or a subsidiary to avoid paying taxes to the government. This is what I told you with respect to Vodafone. Then the entities take the advantages of the loopholes present in the tax structure. GAR is different from tax evasion or tax mitigation, which is an illegal activity. So what exactly GAR looks at? It actually looks at the cases which are not illegal, but those cases which are not ethical as well, right? So many countries like China, Germany, Australia also have implemented GAR, and it has helped them a lot. So we have to be careful with respect to GAR. If the question is there, they may ask you, GAR looks at tax mitigation or tax evasion. Then that statement is wrong. Please be careful. It is only tax avoidance. Then the next important issue is with respect to the rail regulator gets green light. Right? What exactly is it? That is, you will get a rail regulator which will be responsible for recommending the passenger fares, setting performance standards for rail operations and all. And the composition of this will be having a chairman and 3 members fixed for a tenure of 5 years. And the committees recommended for the same: Bibek Debroy Committee on Mobilization of Resources for Major Railway Projects and Restructuring of Railway Ministry. They told that there should be a specialized organization to ensure that railways is working effectively. Right? After this, we have to look at some of the benefits of this as well. That is, different committees, what are the significance of this? The move will improve the services offered to passengers, provide comfort, and keeping railway fares within affordable limits based on the profits, right? So for these reasons, rail regulators are actually important. Least possibility that you may get a question in prelims, major possibility that you can get a question in mains, right? So please look at this issue carefully. Then at last, let's take paper 5, where we are looking at one issue with respect to the sting operation, and the second one is actually with respect to the case study, where we are talking about the water shortage and what measures will you usually take. Right? So these are some of the things which were actually important, right? So guys, after this, on Thursday, we will be launching September current affairs. Every Thursday from now on, we will be launching 1 or 2 months current affairs. This Thursday, we will be launching September. After that, we will be launching October's and November's at one time. And then there will be other 3, Jan, Feb and March, which will be released by May 1st week, right? Apart from these things, we will be also launching India Yearbook series similar to the economic survey, where we have already done with the recording. The editing is in process. So as soon as it is done, we will be intimating it to you. So don't be worried about reading India Yearbook whole. There are very good points this time from where a lot of questions will come, and we will be focusing on most of them. And geography through maps, I will release it at the end, mainly because most of the questions, if you observe, I usually release the videos 2 weeks before prelims. The reason for this is, till that time, any international issue, if it has happened, high possibility that questions come from that. If you want to revise quickly, I can release a video on how to read the maps. But if you want questions in the exam, then you have to look at the last one, right? So please try to ensure that you go through these areas as well. For current affairs, you will be seeing the weekly magazines and the monthly current affairs, which we will be covering from September onwards, and also economic survey and India Yearbook. If you can cover all this, it would be easy for you to score if any question comes from these areas, right? Thank you guys. Thanks for watching.